Welcome to the Play Ed 3 podcast. My name is Rick, and as always, I'm here with my amazing co-host, Tisha, who, funnily enough, just before we got onto this recording, threatened to beat me with a pool noodle.
I didn't think you were going to just publicly out me like that, but I should have known.
I mean, people that have listened to this podcast know that Tish and I like to have conversations before the episode, especially when we have a guest on the podcast. But this time, it got... I'm not going to say rather heated.
It did. It was heated.
Threatened me with a pool noodle. I mean, of all the weapons to threaten me with, I mean, I'm not going to any form of public pools or anything ever again because I'm now traumatized.
What was it?
Especially if
there
Tish
are
is going to be that.
Two sides to every story, and the side is that I was so excited about our guest. I was here early, and it's 2 minutes until showtime, and Rick is nowhere to be found. Don't know if he has gotten caught up in gelling his hair. Wasn't really sure. I didn't know if Courtney was waiting also. Was kind of panicking, and then he hops on and acts like nothing's going on.
Everything's chilled. Everything's great. So I think on that note, I think we need to get involved with our guest.
You didn't even ask me a question this episode.
No, I'm just traumatized by a pool noodle right now. I'm traumatized deeply.
You know what? Go deal with your trauma for a bit. I'm going to introduce our guest. We have with us one of the funniest, most brilliant people I've ever met, Courtney Watson. Welcome, Courtney. I was so excited that you were going to be here. I have been up for hours, which Rick will tell you, I struggle as an ADHDer to get up, especially on a Sunday and record. And, you know,
this is why she's late every time.
But I was like, today's Courtney. And there is just a breath of honest humor that I love about you, and I want you to know that I was so excited. It was kind of like, oh, Courtney's gonna be here. Let me go do my hair. Let me get ready. And so I want to talk a little bit about who is Courtney Watson? Who is Courtney Watson? And I could do a whole bio. And of course, these days you have Google. I'm sure we can Google you and find out all kinds of information. I did that just to see what came up. I also did it under Claude and ChatGPT, which I like to do because I want to see who's the one that's not giving me the accurate information. Earlier, ChatGPT had a moment and told me that you were a band director, and I was like, "No, Chatty G, no. That would have been Wanda from last week. You are all confused." So, but I curated some information, so we're going to see if it's accurate. You went to UT Austin. And I know that you love the Longhorns. I see it on your social. I think interestingly enough, I didn't go to UT or A&M. I can't believe I'm going to say this on a live podcast, but I would always go for the Longhorns. I'm not an Aggie. I do have Aggie friends, but I would definitely, Masters of Education, Educational Technology. You went to UT Brownsville. Is that true?
I did. Yeah, because I did it. It was virtual. It was online, but that was my home campus. So I attended lots of different UT campuses throughout
That's amazing.
Way back in the day. But yeah,
that is way back in the day. And then classroom teacher. I knew you were a classroom teacher. Beaumont ISD, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. I'm from Beaumont,
really?
So I started. I started at the middle school that I attended. So my old principal, my AP was a former teacher. I worked with several of my former teachers. Yeah.
What was that like to be a student and then have some of these people now be your colleagues?
Yeah. It was very weird at first. But it was fun. Like the reason I left Beaumont and went to Conroe was because I didn't want to teach at any other school in Beaumont. Like my principal, I'd had two principals. My original retired. I had another one that came in and he got promoted and went on. And I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for a change, but nope, not anywhere else in Beaumont. I loved it. It was amazing. I mean, there were happy hours with, my seventh grade science teacher
and brunch. I'm like, yes. For those listening and also including Rick over in Manchester, can you give people an idea of where Beaumont is?
No.
Nope. They're going to have to keep guessing.
It's that small. No. So Beaumont it's in Southeast Texas. So, if you know where Texas and Louisiana meet, it is that corner. So it's close to Louisiana. It takes us about 45 minutes to get into Louisiana. So that's the best. It's a part of the Golden Triangle. Back in the day, BMT is the abbreviation. So that stands for, just in case you didn't know, Big Money, Texas.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so the Golden Triangle is Beaumont, Port Arthur, Orange, and Beaumont is the big city of the area, and it's not a big city at all.
So what took you to Conroe? Was it the job that took you to Conroe? Was it
It was. I was ready to move, so I went, like you said, I went to UT, and then I went back home. I was like, oh, I'm just going to teach for a couple years. I'm still going to go to law school. And then, that first paycheck hit, and, I was like, I don't really have a whole lot of bills. I'm fine right now. And so a couple years turned into 5 or 6. And so then I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to move. And I just wanted to, but there were certain places that I didn't want to go. And I wanted like suburbs. So I was just kind of looking for, I'm a recovering English teacher.
Yes.
So at the time, that's what I was doing. So anything reading, sort of a job. And so that's what I was looking for. And so I applied in several different districts. I remember going to Conroe. I was dating my husband now. And I was like, Conroe, they're not going to hire me. And he's like, just go. And I went out there, had a great interview. It was Dr. Knoll. He eventually went on to be the superintendent in Conroe, and he's now gone up to Lake Travis in the Austin area. But at any rate, had a great interview. Like that, how when you've had a good interview, and they take you around and you meet people, and they're like, oh, this is the language arts team, and so on. And so I was like, was this my job? So.
Yeah. That's fascinating. So English, yes. I also taught English, but I heard you say law school. So you were thinking about going into law school. Tell us a little bit about that.
100%. If you talk to anybody to this day who knows me from college, they will tell you that all I said was that I was going to be anything but a teacher. Because it's the family business.
I was getting there. I was getting to that family business, but let's go ahead. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, but and nothing, my mom, like I said, it was literally my mom, my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncle was technology at the district level. Like, it's just, my grandmother was in charge of Head Start. My grandfather was principals, and things like that. But I was like, I don't want to be a teacher. No, I want to do. And so like my grandfather used to say, I'll argue with the sun. And so I did, debate in high school. Even my freshman year in college, they don't have them anymore. They did these things called FIGs, freshman interest groups, because UT is so large. It was over 50,000 students even back then. And they talk about how when you go in, they have those large classes. You don't get to know people. Those big freshman classes have like 500 people in them. Sure. So anyways, these FIGs, you had this core group of people that you took kind of like some core classes with. Like, so there was a science, we took, what else did we take together? We were all in the same psychology class. So the psychology class had 500, but I knew those like 20, 25 people. Sure. And then we had a small English class together. Anyways, the name of my FIG was Law and Order. Law and Law, interest law. Not, it just lost the name of it, but it was a legal focused interest group. So I was undeclared for those first 2 years because, well, I want to be a teacher. I don't know what I want to do, but
but I know I don't want to do that
part. And so then at the end or middle of like year 2 of sophomore year, I was like, well, I can major in education with a specialization in English, because you can go to law school with any degree. So as long as I'll be doing a lot of writing and reading anyway, so I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll have that just as a backup. And 20 how many years later,
it always happens that way, doesn't it? The thing that you say you aren't going to do, it just has a way of. And so I speak a lot about and I've talked about this with friends personally. I've talked about it on this podcast. Be careful what you are speaking and saying, because you are going to see it. So if you are speaking it, you're going to see it eventually. And I think that sometimes we don't realize the power of our words. But you also had that educational DNA built into your family. So did your family expect you to be a teacher? Was that a conversation where they were like, oh, you're going to be a teacher naturally? And then you like showed up and you were like, no, I'm not doing that.
No, not really. And to this day, my mom blames it on my college boyfriend. that I went to education.
Really?
Because I went to volunteer like a tutor with like, you know, just kids from college or whatnot. And she swears I called her like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a teacher. And she was like, didn't you grow up with me? Don't you know what? Are you sure?
No. Don't you know what you're getting into?
I don't remember it like that. I remember the way I tell it, that I thought it would be good for law school. But
Sure.
yeah, she swears up and down that I called and I was just overjoyed because I had found my calling. And I mean, honestly, I probably did. Like, it is what it, I mean.
I think what is interesting, though, is I can see you, as you're telling the story, I can see you going into law. And I think you have so many talents. You're really good with people. You're very quick-witted. I mean, you can come back with things. And my ADHD brain is still processing what the other person said if I'm sitting beside you. And I'm like, Courtney is like so fast at this. Like, she's quick to the draw. I think you would be a fantastic lawyer. Now that I know that story, I had no idea. Love learning that about you.
I really, really wanted to. I did. I really, really did. And I
You
still
know what?
might.
I
It's
was
not
going
too
to say,
late.
Courtney
It's not
Watson,
too late.
I had a teacher friend that I taught with, and I want to say it was 6 years ago, maybe 7, right before COVID. And she came into the library one day and said, this is my last year. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are you, where are you going? What are you doing? And she was like, I am going to go to law school. And I thought that was the most fascinating thing for her to declare that and do that again. And she went back. She went back to law school. She has her law degree now. I think she moved to Illinois. I mean, I always say nothing is impossible. And I think it's easy to say that, but it's harder to believe that until
Right.
you've done it. And then when you do it, I tell Rick a lot of times when we talk about this with the learning cycle, once you see it and you say it and you do it and you realize it's possible, and then you just keep looping that framework in your personal life over and over, you literally can do anything. And I think that's what's fascinating. I am encouraging you to go back and become a lawyer, because I would see Courtney Watson, lawyer, on TikTok, maybe defending the artist who is known for lemon pound cake, maybe.
I did go down that rabbit hole.
Did you go down that rabbit hole? I did too. And at first I thought it was a joke, and then I was like, I am learning so much about law right now, but this is fascinating.
Yeah,
yes.
That was entertaining for sure.
Rick, you have you heard about lemon pound cake? Do you
I'm
know
literally
what we're referring
Googling it right now.
Well, what's funny is I did send you a Facebook message with a link days ago telling you, hey, you should go down this rabbit hole for fun.
Yes,
And then I guess you didn't see that
I
one.
saw that.
He's
Of
like, oh,
course.
I remember.
Yeah. Next question.
While Rick is researching lemon pound cake, I want to talk about Tech Without Tears, and I want you to kind of tell us, how did you come to this? You and I met, I want to say you and I met, what, 2018, 2019, 2020? It was
Probably.
before the pandemic. And I remember, this is my first remembrance of meeting Courtney Watson. Do you want me to tell the story? Do you know the story?
No,
Do you know the
I'm
story
like,
I'm about to tell
like,
you? Yeah, she's like, I'm not sure what you're about to say. So it was actually 2020. And I was working the Wakelet booth at TCA, and the guys from Wakelet had come over. I think it was James and Mispa and Marcus. I think it was just the 3 of them, and they rented an Airbnb. And obviously Airbnbs tell you not to have a party, but of course, what did we do? We did this after party, and it was impromptu. And I remember, yes, it was a gathering, and we played cornhole. I mean, there was all kinds of things happening. And I remember you DMing me on Twitter, and then there you were in front of me. And I remember I was like, this girl's energy is so good. That was when I knew so we've known each other for a really long time, but I don't know that we really talked too much about like the technology piece before. So I want you to tell me, how did you come up with Tech Without Tears? Is there a story behind that? And, what is your philosophy on that now that you've gone from those previous roles in school districts to doing this learning guide with friEdTech? Like, talk to me about that transition. How has it morphed over the years?
It's really just grown, and I did not come up with it. It was
Okay.
a coworker of mine. I love to call her by name, Rebecca Lothman.
Yes.
And we were besties, work wives. We taught a class called Reading Enrichment. She was 7th grade and I was 8th grade. At any rate, just in me overall, I was always that teacher who was using technology with her kiddos. So like I said, I taught English, but then I also, once I moved over to Conroe, I mentioned that class, Reading Enrichment. I had done things like Read 180. I had dyslexia as well. And so I had such a wide range of students, like we all do. And so I had to figure out different ways to reach them. So it all kind of ties into getting my master's. I got my master's in ed tech. I graduated with it in 2009. There were 3 programs in 2009 for a master's in education technology. Like you couldn't find them. They didn't exist. And it was just me, just because I like to figure things out. I went on Twitter, I think probably for one of my first classes, and created a Twitter account. And I remember in like 2008, I think it was, ISTE was in San Antonio. I didn't know what ISTE was. I told, again, my, at the time, boyfriend, I was like, I think there's a technology conference in San Antonio. I think I'm going to go. Went to ISTE, but he went with me to San Antonio, but I bought me a ticket and went to ISTE, that sort of a thing. I was that person in my classroom. I'm going to age myself. So it was called Rick. It used to be called Web 2.0 when they first started introducing
we talked
things.
about that. We did a presentation on Web 2.0. Yes, we remember.
So we had wikis. And so my wiki was called Learning on the Lake, because I moved out to Conroe, which has Lake Conroe. PB, what was it called? Is it called PB Wiki? Was that one of the brands?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Any Hoosiers, yeah. So I remember I had my wiki and things like that, but I was just always that person that if I didn't know what it was, and even to this day, so tying it into what I do now, I am a good Googler. I am no better at any of this than most folks. I just want to know the answer and I won't give up. So that turned into on my campuses where I was a person that people were like, oh, well, Courtney probably knows how to do it. It got to the point where people, I'm going to watch your kids. You go to my room and do XYZ with my kiddos, that sort of a thing. And so then, my principals and things would be like, hey, if we can get you an extra conference period, will you do this and handle this and work with? Oh, of course, because I love to do it. Right. And so back to my friend Rebecca. This was probably around like 2018, 2019, when I was like finally starting to branch out and present at conference and apply to present at conferences and things like that. And then also starting to, well, maybe I do want to be like a tech coach and filling out applications. So I was trying to figure out what is my spiel or whatnot. And so we were talking and I said, I don't know how to, I said, I feel like I need like a title or something. And she was like, well, you might think this is silly, but, and so she ended up texting to me and I was like, no, I love. She's like, I think like you make it fun. It doesn't have to be hard. It's like it's like tech without tears. It's like you just make us want to try things. And I was like, well, thank you. And I did. So yeah, so that's where it came from. And again, it's still a part of my bio to this day because it doesn't have to hurt.
It doesn't have to hurt. Yes. You know what I love about that story is I think people listening who are in those technology instructional tech specialists, digital coaches, those roles, it did sort of morph into that. My story is the same way. It was like, I just really liked learning the technology and seeing my kids learn it and try to tie the learning objectives that I was trying to get them to and the technology together. And it became this like, oh, okay, we have these things called instructional technology coaches. And do you want to apply for that? And I was like, I don't even know what is that? Like that didn't exist. You can go to, like you said, you can go to school for that. It was just something that they naturally saw me doing. It was the same thing. Like, hey, the coach next door would be like, my printer's broken and I'm trying to do this with my students. And I would go in and I would not only fix the printer, but then I would also be able to apply the technology and get his kids started right. And so people start noticing that. And I think you're right. Bringing that humor to something that some people feel it's so painful for some people.
Right.
Technology.
And I, again, tech without tears, but it is hard for some people.
Yes.
And so I understand that with everyone except my mother, who swears up and down that I don't talk to any of those other people like I talk to her when she has a technology question.
I know. It's always, Rick and I talk about that. It's like within our own families, but don't you think it's because we do it all the time outwardly to all the world and they're all our customers, and then we get home and we're like, figure out your own stuff.
Yeah.
She's like, why are you so frustrated with me? And I'm like, mother, I can't right now.
That's so funny. I think we all understand that within our families, because you become the tech help person within your family, and you're like, I just want to break. Like, you can Google it, kind of to your point. Like, you have Google. They're like, I don't know. And then you bring in the AI piece. I think that has been so interesting, just with like even internally with my kids, and like talking to Avery about AI. The other day she asked me something, and I kind of just I did the same thing, Courtney. I just looked at her and I was like, did you Google that? And then she was like, well, it didn't give me the answers I wanted. And I was like, did you ask ChatGPT? Because he may not always be accurate, but you can at least start somewhere with it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. So this is a little bit of a fun question. If your teaching philosophy were a fast food order, what would it be? And give me the full combo here.
Oh, geez. That's a hard question.
I know.
Teaching philosophy were a fast food order. I'm going to go with, what do I feel like eating? Let's see. What are we gonna eat?
What's making you hungry right now?
My first mind was nuggets, and I couldn't decide between Chick-fil-A or McDonald's. I'm going to start there. But I was going with the sauces because you have so many to choose from. And so everybody can have their own favorite.
Yes.
And my teaching philosophy, I feel like it's just that I'm just here to offer up all the options and then help you once you tell me which one is your favorite.
Right.
How does that work?
No, that works because you have, at Chick-fil-A, you've got the grilled nuggets, and then you've got the breaded nuggets, right? And then you've got all the sauces, and there's a ton of choices. And I think that's a perfect example.
And you have to have French fries because
you have to.
That finishes it off.
The question is,
I'm the French fries. No,
I love French fries, and sometimes I'd rather just have the French fries with the sauce. So that's my question. Do you dip your French fries in the sauce?
100%. At Chick-fil-A, you're going to have to give me Chick-fil-A sauce and the sweet and spicy, the spicy sriracha.
Yes.
I use those for the nuggets. I need barbecue sauce for my fries.
For your fries. That's so fascinating because you do meet people who are like, I don't want any sauce. And my brain is like, why would you choose that for yourself? Right? Like, what do you mean you don't want? And Jace, my son, I know Jace, my son, is one of them. I will order him nuggets at either place, and the meal, the fries, the drink. And I'm like, they're like, what sauce? And I always like anticipate one day when I ask him, like, he's going to give me a sauce option. And he's like, no sauce. And I'm like, you don't want anything? And he's like, no.
He's like, you should know this by now.
Here's the ultimate question, though, that me and Tish have always been arguing about when it comes to French fries. It's completely off topic from the main thing.
This is a good one. No, this is a good one.
Let's say you brought a bowl of French fries, and you can have whatever sauce you want. Does the sauce stay on the side, and you dip your fries into the sauce, or do you cover your chips with the sauce?
Absolutely not. I'm a dipper.
Thank you. Thank you.
So is
Thank
Rick.
you. Tish,
It
you're
depends on my
leaving the
mood.
podcast now.
No,
There's two
it
against
depends. That's not
one.
fair. Because listen, we're going back to teaching philosophies. We're going back to learning philosophies. Like for me, some days I want to take the bottle of ketchup and just squirt it all over my fries, and maybe add a little pepper.
I was horrified the first day I ever got to see that in Dallas.
Yeah. And then some days,
the TCA 22.
He did. He had an honest panic attack. I'm not even
just
joking.
Covering it with ketchup, and I'm just like, do you want some fries with your ketchup right now? I mean, it's getting a bit ridiculous.
But then some days I just want the ketchup in the little pod that they give you, right? But I'll take like 3 of those. I'll empty them out on my little burger paper, whatever I've got there, the little boat. And then I will add a ton of pepper to make it spicy ketchup. Do you remember whenever Whataburger did not have spicy ketchup? That's how I was making my ketchup spicy. I was adding a ton of pepper to it. So
that's funny.
Yeah, I don't eat normally, I guess, Rick. So go ahead, Courtney.
No, I was just going to say, absolutely not. The only time I will, because this is a podcast about French fries and that's what's important, it's probably my main food group, just to be clear. But if I am on the road and I need some fries, then because then you have to turn them into bagglers. So you dump it in the bag. Then I will put the ketchup on there because then you give the bag a little shake. Just because I'm driving, so I don't want to have to.
I can understand that.
Yeah. See, look at that though. I mean, just think about applying our conversation just now to the learning, to the teaching philosophy, to right. That I mean, it really is. I've talked about I think Rick asked me one day, like, when you're accommodating for so many students, can you give me an analogy for what that's like? And I said, it'd be like if I were working at In-N-Out and I own the menu is very simplified, but I'm the only one working and every student is coming to the counter with a unique order and I'm having to then go back and like make the order, deliver the order. So I'm doing all of those things and it is essentially really like that. I mean, it's exhausting for teachers to do that. And I just think, teachers, we're all still teachers, Courtney. I mean, you said, what is it, 20 something years? I mean, I'm the same way. I knew I wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't think I was going to be doing it for that long. And then I woke up one day and I was like, wow, right? Like even now I tell people, and I went to PT, I hurt my shoulder and I've been going to physical therapy and I hate the small talk, and that's the neurodivergent in me. So I'm like, oh, I just don't want to tell you all the things about me. Can't we just talk about my shoulder? And they're like, well, what do you do for your job? And so I tell them. And then I'm like, but before that, I was a teacher for like 22 years. And then their faces are like, you did both of those? And I'm like, yeah. And then I don't want to talk about it because it's like talking about that is like decades that, teachers are putting their time and effort in. And we had a guest last week who's been teaching for like 30 years. I think things like that is commendable. It's a commendable
100%.
act of service. And I will never not advocate for teachers because it's just a job that is not thanked enough. Rick,
Sure.
I think, has a question for you. And
Do I?
I think you do. You put something on topic 2 over here. I didn't write that. Did I? Maybe I did. Maybe I wrote it.
You did.
But
you actually did.
It's your question.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. What I'm actually curious about, Courtney, is completely. I'm not looking at the script that Tish has written. What's one tech tool you secretly wish would disappear forever? No, I'm not going to ask that. I'm going to ask. You said you were the teacher that was always using the tech in the classroom.
Mhm.
What was your process to essentially vet tools that you were going to bring in your classroom, and how did you recognize what tools was going to uplift your students in the biggest possible way?
I utilize my students a lot for that. We have to give them a lot of credit because they will tell us what they like, what they don't like, what works and what doesn't work. One just popped into my head when you started to ask me that question. I think about, and it was, excuse me, they kind of build it as like Facebook for the classroom, but does anybody remember Edmodo? And so I remember finding that one and then being like, well, but we can talk and then y'all can ask me questions, while you're at home. And they're like, what we can do? And so, they really did and so that was just one of my favorites. So, but I don't know, like it was just, and I think I kind of, mentioned this a little bit earlier, but that was just what I like to do. Like I wanted to find something, think about ways that it would work, again, mostly from an English teacher kind of frame of mind, but just for my kids in general. And tying that into, because I don't know if I did this well earlier, what I do as a learning guide, it's the same thing, but just on a larger scale. And I feel like that sounds like that pretend answer where you're like, but I just get to reach more people now, and more students, and more, but I really do. Like
very unfulfilling. You're unfulfilling
yes,
in that answer.
But that really is the truth. Like I've met teachers. I got to finally go to New York.
Yeah.
I was in Staten Island the week before spring break, and when I still get spring break, that's also a wonderful
that's amazing
perk. And work with educators. It was there were elementary, middle school, and high school folks. We're talking about podcasting. With Adobe Express or whatever, and it was amazing. And I would not have known these people existed if not for what I do and wanting to share with people. And then a teacher emailed me after the fact and they were like, hey, different teacher. But anyways, I was trying to edit this PDF. It's my next TikTok that I need to make. Maybe I'll do it today since I have on makeup.
Yeah.
But I need to edit this PDF and I tried it, but it XYZ didn't work. And so hey, I got you. Like, and because I tell people, take my card, take my email address. Here's the thing. We all know that teachers don't have time. They have so much on their
Yes.
plates. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
I was at home. I found my master's degree because I was digging around online. And I would hang out on Twitter and just dig around and find things. And then that's what I would try in my class, going back to your question, Rick. And I was like, oh, this sounds fun. Let's see how this works with my kiddos. But because I had the time to do that. There are people who have kids at home and other things in the afternoon. So I don't mind being that person to let me go and find this.
Sure.
And then, oh, you need help with, okay, well then let's try this and I'll come into your classroom and do it with you. So I hope that all kind of tied in together.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Because you make such amazing points that teachers are just swamped with so much that they have to do. I mean, I've always said that I've never been a teacher. The only times I've been in the classroom was as a student, and seeing the amazing work that they all do day in, day out. They're not taking 3 months of summer and putting their feet up the whole time. They're not taking breaks over the weekends. They're having to do planning for next lessons, homework, all these different things, and having to find tools and how to actually get all 30, 40, 100 students they have in a week actually engaged. I mean, I struggle to get Tisha engaged in what I'm talking about, let alone 150 students.
But you know what's interesting? To your point, Courtney, I feel the same way. Like, I was a teacher, I was, teaching students, and then in my roles, like shifting from instructional coach after so long and teaching in the classroom after decades, moving into my role at Wakelet and now at Smart, I feel like there are so many people in the world that I get to work with that I didn't know existed. And what I find interesting, and I find this sort of strand in all of us who have lived that life and then went into the coaching and then kind of transitioned over. We have this, to your point, I do the same thing. I'm like, here is my phone number. And I remember like some of my colleagues in the past have been like, why are you giving them your phone number? And I'm like, because I know that they don't have time to get on their laptop and send me an email. You have time, but you cannot fathom what it's like to manage all of these kids. And then you're running around either managing your own kids then after school. I said, if they can text me a question and I can give them the answer immediately, that is going to be more helpful than waiting for an email or an official meeting or something. And so I think, we have that. I talk about I'm a recovering people pleaser. It is because I have served for my whole life. I've served other teachers and the students and then the people, communities. And I think that's just where we have hearts that are servant leaders. And I just think that's kind of, it's so fascinating though, that you have this family legacy where you were watching your family do this. And I admire that so much. My kids actually watched me do that, and they actually did the opposite. They were like, we never want to be a teacher because we have been watching you this whole time. Right. And so, but I think, naturally they learn things. Having a parent as a teacher, they are servant leaders in different ways now. I kind of want to ask you a fun question because we kind of got serious. I knew Rick was going to bring the seriousness to this. I knew he would.
I bring a little bit of lightheartedness into it from time to time.
Well, this one's going to be good because I want to know if you were stranded on a desert island with I'm going to put you on the spot here with one ed tech tool. Now, it doesn't have to be specifically ed tech. It could be an app. It could be something that Courtney's using in her spare time. So like personal. So one technology tool, one snack, and one colleague. Who makes the cut? What's your snack? What's your colleague? And what is your we'll change it. We'll say app. So like the app on your phone. You have your phone and only one app is going to work. Which one are you going to take?
I don't know.
Which one do you find which one do you find yourself using most often, even just in your personal life? Doesn't have to be in your job.
I don't know. This is hard. I would, because I it's so entertaining. And you know what? But you know who I'm going to take? It will probably be TikTok. But honestly, for the entertainment factor, Threads, because I fought Threads for so long, but it gives what Twitter was way back in the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. It does. It
I
does.
love a good.
It's a little controversial over on my threads. Is like I get in there and I'm like, there is so much drama over here. I just did not
and that's
expect
probably
it.
what I like. That's
Right.
probably what
And so then I'll go to TikTok and I'll be like, okay, there's some drama sprinkled in here with some learning, with some like entertaining things. Threads, that does surprise me. Okay.
For the fun piece, I'll go with Threads. If I had to pick one for that was like an ed tech something, what would I go with? Jeez. I'd like to say, I mean, I do like TikTok. I guess I'll stick with TikTok because I can still keep in contact. I could share things if I wanted to. I can learn some things.
Consuming. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
yeah. And then what is your snack?
This is an education podcast, but it's for adults, right?
It is. It's Play Ed 3. So we want you to have fun with it.
Our demographics usually 40 plus. There are a few younger, but we do say that it's not for children. So go ahead.
I'm gonna have girl dinner. It's gonna be French fries and prosecco.
Girl dinner. Yes. And then this is a hard one. So one colleague, I don't know if you could just choose one. I think we would probably let you.
Oh, I don't know. And it's hard, and I will say this, I enjoy working from home.
Yes.
But also listen to me talk to y'all now. And as teachers, we're talkers. So that was something I had to get used to.
Yeah. Do you talk to yourself?
I don't, but this is also probably why I do so much on social medias because I need to be entertained. Because then my husband comes home he's off at ExxonMobil managing people.
Sure.
And so he wants to come home and be quiet. And I'm like, hey, no, what do you don't want to, you want to leave? You want to go? You want to go somewhere? You want to talk? No, I don't want to talk. I'm like, but it's been just me and Louie in here. I talk to Louie. That's my dog.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, colleagues, I would have to, me, I'd have to take a group. I can't.
I know you would. Well, speaking of groups, you do, I know that you are known for these really fun parties. And I want to say you have an annual July 4th party. Is this right?
We do.
Yeah.
It's actually the Watson Kickback.
Yes.
And it is going to be whatever Saturday is closest to the 4th of July, which this year it will be on a Saturday.
Saturday.
My husband's birthday is actually on the 6th. So that was really kind of how it started. And then also with the 4th, most of the time people are
off.
Will have that day or maybe like the day or so before. Excuse me, y'all. And so like I mentioned, I'm from Beaumont. And I am a people person, if you didn't know. Surprise, surprise.
Yes.
I do my best to not be dry or unfulfilling when I'm working with folks and talking to people and hanging out.
Yes.
So it is literally my favorite thing for my worlds to collide.
Yeah.
So we are, golly, this is going to be, shoot. It's too early for me to know the year. But we did the first one when we moved into our first house in 2014.
Wow.
And we've done it every summer, and I include 2020, and I just say it was just me and Landy, but it was still the whatever annual Watson Kickback. So at any rate, but our friends from Beaumont come out. We have friends, people that I worked with in the school district, then people that I started to work with at friEd. And so there are some who know each other literally just from that. Yeah. They're friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
And things like that. So that's
awesome.
my favorite. That's my favorite thing.
I love that because you're bringing the worlds together. You really are great at building community. And that's one of the things that I noticed about you. You love to bring the people together and let them blossom their own friendships from that, which is so fun. I do. I've never attended one of your parties. Again,
you're invited.
I know officially I'm invited.
You know how it works. Okay.
I do.
Rick, you're invited.
You're invited, Rick.
Now, technically, I don't think we're friends on Facebook yet. So, but if we're friends on Facebook, here's what happens. There's no such thing as an invitation. So nobody can say, oh, why didn't you invite me? The party is the Saturday closest to the 4th. The Watson Kickback is always happening. We're like Arby's. We provide the meat and the macaroni and cheese. My best friend makes dirty rice. And then everything else is up for grabs. Here's the thing. I don't eat potato salad. So that's something you could bring. I don't really eat beans.
Neither do I. It's fine.
You could bring, so anything like that. So everybody's invited to bring whatever they want to bring. I try to do something each year to make it stand out. So
Do you have themes?
No. So we added in a bartender a few years ago.
Oh.
And so we have a bartender every year.
Wow.
1 year I had a live musician.
Wow.
I was a saxophonist. So that was, it was.
That was probably good.
That was a good year. And so I don't know what I'm doing this year. I don't know. I've thought about food trucks, but everybody looks, is so looking forward to expecting, my husband's barbecue.
Sure.
So they'd be like, wait, what's happening here?
Oh, that would be Rick likes barbecue. That's funny. So we'll be at ISTE for that week of 4th of July. But you should be friends on Facebook with Courtney, Rick, because
I may have just sent a friend request.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I have some friends like you, Courtney, who every year at a certain part of the year, they have their annual posts of whatever they're doing. So for example, I have a friend that I met long ago, years ago, probably 26 years ago. And her oldest daughter drew a turkey when she was 4. And it was for Thanksgiving. It says, Happy, Habe, Faxgiving or something like that. And so every year on Thanksgiving, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, she'll post that. So I have friends who are really good at remembering, and they'll post it every year. And I always wait for Courtney's post, because even if I'm not there, I know I'm invited. That's what I love about it. She's like, we're all over here. You're welcome to come if you're free. If you're not, that's okay, but you're invited, right? Yeah. So I'm going to make it to a Watson Throwback party. I'm going to do it. It's, what is it like? It's going to take me probably 5 hours to get to you. So I'm going to have to do some pre-planning.
You come in, first of all, you come in the night before, because that's when we make the Jell-O shots. This is turning a whole different
we are in. I think you're going to maybe have some people reaching out to you who are listeners now.
So you come in and you stay with me the night before, you hang out all day Saturday, you spend the night, you can go home on Sunday.
Oh, this is fun. Yeah. This is fun. Oh, it's good. You do know how to throw a party, Courtney, and that is what I love about you. Well, here, I have one more question for you before we do some Juicebox Confessionals. More fun stuff. If you're teaching how to walk-up song, what would your walk-up song be as a teacher?
I don't even know. We have our walkout song. I just have a song that is my jam.
What is it?
And you have heard it numerous times. It is by Frankie Beverly and Mays. It's Before I Let Go. And it is just my favorite song. My husband and I do in our area is a dance called Swing Out. And so it is my favorite song to dance to with him. No matter where we are, if our friends know it, if that song comes on, he's like, hold on, y'all, I'll be right here. Hold on. I know she's coming.
Did I see a video of you dancing to this
on stage at TCEA?
I feel like I've seen, yes. Okay.
Oh, and yes. And we have, yes, we were we were out one night and they had a DJ.
You got to be friends with Courtney on Facebook, Greg. That's really what the whole point of this conversation is.
But so the song is Before I Let Go. Beyonce has a version that she did on her, I can't remember which album it was. There was a whole lot of controversy. She didn't take the song. It's fine, guys. It's just a different version. But I like the original version. It's on our Spotify playlist for training vibes.
Sure.
And I literally play it before I do any training.
Before you do
in person, virtual.
I think everybody needs a song. If they don't have a song like that, what are you doing? So if you're listening and you don't have your song, find your song. I have my song. I think, Rick, you know my song. Do you know my song? Courtney may know my song too. It's Lose Yourself by Eminem. I am listening to that every single time. I am rapping the words. Adam Shorts and I used to do karaoke to that song way back in the day. Yeah, that is my song. And it is just like a hype song, right? It gets you ready.
It does. It does. It actually came on while I was doing my run this morning. So
really?
There you go.
Well, do you have a walk-up song, Rick?
Bliss by Muse.
Okay. Muse.
I love how you just okay, a British band. We don't know who they are.
No, I know who Muse is, actually, but I don't know that song off the top of my head. Okay, we're going to move into Juicebox Confessional energy, Courtney, and this is a part of the show, it's just like the rest of it, where I'm going to ask you some really random questions.
I feel like it's been an extended Juicebox
You know what? Courtney Watson's episode has been an entire Juicebox Confessional episode. This has been fun. Okay. What cassette or CD did you play so much that you wore it out?
Oh, geez. Probably Lauryn Hill.
Ooh.
Because that came out it was my senior year, 98. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Yes.
Probably wore that one out. I was a big Biggie girl, so I
Oh,
definitely wore that CD out. And I cannot not talk about a cassette because I mentioned Southeast Texas. It's near Houston, which I didn't say.
yes.
And down here we have what they call screw, which is screwed up music. And it is music that is regular songs, but they slow it down. And my freshman year in college, I didn't know my roommate. We both just signed up. And so we were probably about 2 months in. She's from San Antonio. And she was like, if your stereo is messing up your music, you're welcome to use mine. And so I introduced her to Screw, DJ Screw.
You've now introduced all of us to that, but that is hysterical. She thought your stereo was completely messed up. That's funny. Okay, let's see. What was your first piece of technology that made you feel fancy?
Oh gosh. So Mitch said that I was a life family time educator. Also, same thing with technology. I said my uncle, my grandfather, if anything new came out, he had it.
Yeah.
So like I remember being a little girl, I had a little computer at like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But the thing that I probably remember the most was Wheel of Fortune. That's just like law school. I want to be on Wheel of Fortune, and I still do. But I had a Wheel of Fortune game that had the little infrared deal that connected to the TV, so I could play the actual Wheel of Fortune that was on that night. I had that puzzle on my game or whatever. Listen, we were hoity-toity, okay? We were a big deal, honey. We were a big deal family, all right? So we were playing games.
Awesome. Oh my gosh,
so yeah,
Courtney.
So I've been doing this tape. I'm not new to this. I'm not new. No, I'm kidding.
This is awesome. I too loved Wheel of Fortune. Always said I wanted to go on. I watched it. My parents had that on every single night of my childhood. It came on right as we were either sitting down to eat dinner or right after. And I remember just for years needing that consistency of Wheel of Fortune in my life. And somewhere along the way, I've lost it. I may have to pick that back up because I do.
I'll still watch an episode every now and then. I'm also scared to go on because I feel like I would be the one that then you go on and like you don't get a single puzzle. And I'll be like, but I'm so good at this. I promise. I really am.
Then you make a TikTok about it. And then you become viral. Yeah. Let's see. What's a tech struggle that you struggled with that you don't think students today would survive? Something that you went through.
They don't have to save anything and move it from a floppy disk.
Yeah. Oh, the time.
Or a thumb drive, which is they don't even know that those things exist anymore. Yeah,
they don't. Okay, let's see. I've got a couple
they'd crash
more
out. They would. Oh gosh,
they would crash out.
They wouldn't know what to do.
They would. Where does your loyalty lie with gaming? For example, like my son has Xbox. He really loves Xbox. I know Rick has a PlayStation. I love Nintendo. Where is your game loyalty?
I don't really have one. My husband has I don't even remember, a PlayStation, I'm pretty sure. I'm not a big gamer. I word games on my phone.
Yes.
I play the LinkedIn games.
LinkedIn, yeah.
So if you're a LinkedIner, then I'll be trying to beat you.
Yeah. There you go, Rick. Rick
we're connecting on LinkedIn as well. I play that,
but I haven't done today's yet.
Well, do you have a favorite board game? Do you play any board games at these Watson parties? You know what I mean? Like, are you?
No, I play spades.
Okay.
Card game. I like spades.
Yeah.
And I play to win. And so that was I was going to say this too about gaming. So I don't mind. I love games. I love to play games. I love to play I love Taboo as well. I'm a Taboo queen.
Really good.
But I also play to win. So
I love that.
I'm not always the best, because if I can't be on a team that's losing. Like
you need to play
switch it up.
I was gonna say you need to play like Risk is a single player game. Like you'd be really good at that, dominating the world. I can see you putting your strategy into that. That one's really good. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about fashion. What was your signature outfit in the 90s?
Oh gosh, in the 90s would have been let's see, Jabot jeans that I was just talking with a friend who has no idea what that brand was, and she's 4 years younger than me, and I was like,
Courtney, I just posted about Jabot jeans on my TikTok the other day because I remember asking my parents. I was like, I want these Jabot jeans in a size
I did
whatever.
See that.
Did you see that? And I remember making the video, and I was like, nobody's gonna know what this is. Oh my God! But I'm not re-recording it.
I related to that because we had a store in Beaumont called the White House. And that was where we would go like for back to school time, and because my grandmother was very fancy too. So I knew if I went shopping with her, I was getting everything.
Yes.
I was the only grandchild as well as the only child. So that might explain a bit as well. But no, probably in the 90s, like in high school, it would have been Jabots, Nautica shirts.
Yes.
What do we have on? Polo boots and
Oh, polo boots.
The braided belt.
Yes, I totally forgot about my polo boots. I had some. You've just unlocked a memory for me. Holy moly. That's so good.
And my guest watch, my high school class, we just had we're starting like our dances and fundraising things. We're we have a couple years for our 30th.
Yep.
I don't know how they're celebrating 30 years. It's only been like 10. Anyways.
Exactly.
But our 30th is coming up. And so we had a twerp dance was our dances last weekend, as a matter of fact. And it was 90s themed. So my husband, I had some gold herringbone necklaces and bracelets. My husband and I did polo shirts.
Yes.
We did Jordans. He's a Jordan head, so he knew they were from 90 something.
Yes. Yes.
And then I found, cleaning up in my mom's house, I wish I had it in here, a Guess watch. And it was a bubble watch.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers some went up. Y'all,
yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
I loved this watch.
Yes.
So I loved Guess, but yeah.
You know, that's what I do. I actually, my free time, I try to find some of those childhood things that I remember, that I had. And I have been looking at the vintage watches. All of that is coming back into play. The 90s are becoming so popular suddenly. And I wish I had kept everything that I had in the 90s so I could just shop my own closet. But I'm having to kind of do vintage shopping for those things now, right? Okay, we're going to talk about school culture, and then Rick's probably going to tell me that it is
wrap it up.
Yeah, he's going to tell me. Now that we know you were the only grandchild and only child, this might be fun. What was the most dramatic moment that you remember in the 90s, either at school or at home? Did you have a really dramatic moment?
I had a dramatic time in middle school. So I was in band. They put you in these electives.
Oh, you were in band. Okay.
And only in middle school. No, it was not in high school. I lost 3 clarinets in middle school.
Wow.
So I ended my band career playing the bass clarinet because it was that really big one that had to stay at school.
Yeah.
They were like, you can't take these home anymore.
And these are like, bought clarinets.
Yes, and they're not cheap.
The most, and I say that's why I was so dramatic, because it wasn't on purpose. And I don't think that I was like a super forgetful child. People will probably disagree. Everybody does call me Dory now. Whatever. But I do remember one of them. I remember it was a Regency, so it was those longer cars. It was brown, and I know that what happened was, we were getting in the car, and I set it up on top of the car to then, put everything else in. I got in and forgot it up there so we backed out of the driveway. So that means it would have been right on the edge, but then it kind of slid over. And then I remember we made a left turn where we were going. And so it would have slid, to the middle. And anyways, our next turn, we heard this loud noise. We were, oh my God, what was that? And then later we realized that it was my clarinet. So,
Oh, Courtney, this has been such a good episode. I am so
Thanks
grateful
for that memory. That was not my best moment, but
Well, we all have them. We all have them. Trust me.
Yeah, certainly.
This has been so great. Just getting to know you, hearing your history to education, and now what you're doing. Where can people find you next if they are looking for you, either on socials or in person?
Let's see. On the socials, I am EdTech Courtney, which, side note, I just switched to that to be this. I wanted to be the same across all the things. And I've been, outsourcing, like, y'all help me come up with a name. What should I do? Because I assumed that would be taken, and it wasn't
Yeah.
on any
There
other
you
thing.
go.
So I'm EdTech
That's
Courtney on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm leaving something out. Twix. That's our compromise because I still want to call it Twitter. I'm not there much, but Blue Sky, all the places.
Yes.
Nice.
Let's see. So EdTech Courtney, and then next up for me, I'll be going to one more conference. I have NETA in Nebraska
Mhm.
in
Uh-huh.
April, and somewhere else. Oh, I'll be in California for Adobe.
Oh, good.
Nice.
Good. Will you be at
And
ISTE this year?
not right now.
Okay.
I have a former coworker who reached out about putting in some things for Playground because the deadline is not until the 30th. And I was like, we'll see what future Courtney feels next week.
I always say that. I'm like,
Spring
future Tisha.
break Courtney was not in the mood, but
Yep.
we'll see.
That's fine.
That makes sense. Well, thank you so much for joining us,
Well,
Courtney.
thanks for having me. You know, I always,
Amazing.
like even when we talked about this, I was like, I'm not interesting. I don't have things to tell.
You were so interesting. I have
On a
learned so
podcast.
much. And the thing that I want to just real quick, Rick, before you end our
That's fine.
podcast,
That's
I just
okay.
want to I've learned so much about Courtney today. And I knew Courtney, right? Like we've known each other for a long time, but I've learned so much about Courtney. But what I love the most is her name pronunciation. Regular, deregular, vanilla Courtney is what she put on her on her spreadsheet. And
regular,
degular, vanilla Courtney with a laughy face. And I just want to commend you for your service. And you know what? We are thankful that you became a teacher, and we're going to cheer you on as you go into
Always.
law school.
There we go. We're putting it out there. It's done now.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's out in the universe. It's going to happen.
Yes.
Amazing. Awesome. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Follow us wherever you are listening, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. All the links to Courtney's socials are in the description below, so please go check them out and give her a follow. And until next week, we'll see you then. Bye for now.